Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I found some articles talking about some reports from Ukraine stating that Russia, in retaliation for the successful Ukrainian counteroffensive, started or reverted to what it does best, which is engaging in so-called terrorist activities. In this case, the reports state that the Russian army destroyed some Ukrainian power stations, therefore leaving civilians, towns without electricity and water and other necessities. Obviously, this article comes from Ukrainian sources. I picked it from an American one, and this is from the Mississippi Daily Journal from today, September 11th, 2022. The title of this article varies from source to source, but about maybe 10%. This is the title: Russia hits power stations after Ukraine counteroffensive. Now, as I said in other outlets, the title sounds like in retaliation or in frustration and so on. Russia attacked power stations and other infrastructure, causing widespread outage across Ukraine as Kiev's forces pressed a swift counteroffensive that has driven Moscow's troops out of swaths of territory it had occupied in the northeast. So Kiev, Ukraine. Russia attacked power stations and other infrastructure Sunday, causing widespread outages across Ukraine as Kiev forces pressed a swift counteroffensive that has driven Moscow's troops from swaths of territory it had occupied in the northeast. Now, I don't know why these guys are doing, they always start with the first paragraph and they put it two times, one after another. And it seems like I can't get used with just avoiding this repetition. The bombardment ignited a massive fire at a power station on Kharkiv's western outskirts and killed at least one person. President Volodymyr Zelensky denounced the quote-unquote deliberate and cynical missile strikes against civilian targets as acts of terrorism. Remember, if destroying a power station is an act of terrorism, I remember very well and vividly in 1999 when NATO, specifically one country, bombarded the same kind of things, bridges and this kind of objectives. So if these are acts of terrorism here, I think they're over there too. So that's why when I hear Zelensky or anybody else saying that, I'm just thinking, well, first let's go with the beginning. Let's go over there, fix those things, get those people responsible, and let the courts decide what actually Volodymyr Zelensky already said that that's an act of terrorism. So then we would indict, convict, and then punish the people responsible. And they are still alive, most of them. So Ukraine's second largest city of Kharkiv appeared to be without power Sunday night. Cars drove through darkened streets and a few pedestrians used flashlight or mobile phones to light their way. Separately, the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant in the Russian-occupied south completely shut down in a bid to prevent a radiation disaster as fighting raged nearby. Now, I don't know if I don't know if this is really done by the Russians or not. I'm just reporting what these guys are saying. And why am I saying that? It's because false flag operations, it's something common during war, especially when you have a propaganda war and you have to muster civilian support from the West to agree to have less energy and their standards of living decrease to fight for a good cause, which is Russia being a terrorist state attacking innocent victim Ukraine, which Ukraine is a victim. Ukraine is a victim of more than one source, and I think that the perpetrator is hiding not very well in somewhere some thousands of miles away from the actual fighting. But it says here that in Sunday night's missile attack by Russia, the Kharkiv and Donetsk regions seemed to bear the brunt. Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye and Sumy had only partially lost power, Zelensky said. Kharkiv mayor Igor Terekov called the power outage revenge by the Russian aggressor for the successes of our army at the front, in particular in Kharkiv region. I don't know if that's... I can't say anything about it because I don't know. Obviously, I'm just reading what these guys are stating. So Ukrainian officials said Russia hit Kharkiv, the country's second largest heat power plant, and Zelensky posted video of the Kharkiv power plant on social media. So the power plant is TEC-5, the country's second biggest heat and power plant. So Zelensky posted video of the Kharkiv power plant on fire. And I'm quoting, "Russian terrorists remain terrorists and attack critical infrastructure. No military facilities, only the goal to leaving people without light and heat," he tweeted. Later in the evening, some power had been restored in some regions. None of the outages were believed to be related to the shutdown of the reactors at the Zaporozhye plant. So, one fact is clear, that power plant was hit. The Ukrainians, who I have only their statements, say it was the Russians. Probably if you ask the Russians, they would say it was not them. So I'm just reporting, nevertheless, the power plant was hit. Civilians did not have electricity and probably other utilities functioning. And they're called terrorists and so on. Well, I don't know. It is what it is. In a war, you can call it terrorism. If you call that terrorism, you have to look at other stuff that you could also call terrorism. But here I'm not to judge this, whatever happened, even though I mention it. But it seems like a little bit how easily certain terms are just thrown over there. And I'm pretty sure that if you ask Zelensky about that with the same thing in Yugoslavia, he would not answer that. He will avoid it like a weasel that he is, and he would probably say, well, it's Ukraine, I don't care about what happened there, I don't know, something like that. Because it's too obvious that, the same act bears the same definition, and the problem is the perpetrator's name. So if you have this perpetrator, that act is not called that, it's called differently. If you have this perpetrator, the act bears the definition. But nevertheless, I just reported that that occurred. I'm wondering when the nuclear power plant will be hit by whomever, and then again blamed on Russia, and we will hear that it was Russia. And maybe in about 30 years we're going to find out who really was. If it was Russia, okay. If it was Ukraine, okay. If it was other people, okay. And we just are open for whatever the truth would be. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.